Hi everyone, I'm Les.
And I'm Ashley.
And you're listening to Anthropotamus, where we explore some of your favorite anthropology topics. Hi everyone, this is Les with Anthropotamus. Tonight I'm going to be recording a special episode. We'll be going through Roman Jakobson's 6 Functions of Language. A little bit of background. Linguistic anthropologists believe that language itself is multifunctional, meaning anything we say will have more than one purpose. In a lot of cases, it's going to have several purposes, as a matter of fact. The concept of multifunctionality is important because it can help us understand nuances in language that we might otherwise miss, especially if what we're studying is in our primary language or the first language that we learned. So, if you're wondering who Roman Jakobson is, you're not alone. When I first heard about him, I had really no idea who he was. But to give you guys a little more background, Roman Jakobson was a linguist from Russia. He helped to found the Prague School of Linguistic Theory back in 1960. Now, the idea of multifunctionality can be traced back to Jakobson's work in identifying the 6 cognitive factors of speech. Jakobson also taught that each of the different cognitive factors of language would correspond to a function of language, and that any use of language would necessarily contain all of the varied functions, or all of the functions to a varied degree. The purpose of this episode is to help both me and any of you who are curious about linguistics and anthropology understand the different functions of language a little bit better, and hopefully spark a little bit of curiosity in any of you who haven't looked into linguistic anthropology before. Okay, let's get into it. To start off with, the 6 functions are expressive, cognitive, referential, poetic, phatic, and metalinguistic. Now, I know I just threw a lot of words at you, but don't worry, we're going to break it down. As a wise man once said, let's begin at the beginning. The expressive function. The expressive function is about the speaker. This could be expressing a physical feeling or an emotion. Here's a short clip that demonstrates the expressive function taken from an earlier episode of the podcast.
I love doing workshops.
Notice how in that clip, Ashley says I. She's referencing herself and telling us the second function of language is called conative, which is specifically used to address a person or a group of people. In a conversation, this might take the form of giving directions, an order, or even just asking a question. In this next clip, you're going to hear me give direction to Ashley.
No,
hold
not
on.
really.
No, hold on. Say that again.
Okay, I can hear you.
I'll give you another example. While I was at work recently, I had 2 different tasks that I had to complete at the same time. To make sure this happened, I asked one of my coworkers for help. So I said, hey Charles, I have to go talk to the sort manager right now, but I have somebody coming in to complete a training. Can you get them started while I'm gone? Our conative function is the part where I say, hey Charles, addressing him directly. When I use the phrase, can you get them started? That's a perfect example of our next function, which is referential. The referential function is directed towards a third party. Notice that I first address Charles, which is conative. Then I reference the coworker that I need him to help. To help demonstrate referential function a little bit better, I'm going to show you a short clip of Ashley and I talking about car insurance.
Well, I don't have anything bad to say with them. I used to have AAA car insurance.
I had them in the past too, and they helped out. They got some coolant out for the car once. Actually, no, I think they just brought out jugs of water. The referential function also applies to context or events. Notice in that last clip I talk about the context of the situation. The insurance company brought out water to help cool down my car when it overheated. And the event itself, right? They brought the water. The 4th function is the poetic function, which is all about playing with words and sounds, which is one of my favorite things about using the English language. I can point you directly to the name of the podcast Ashley and I run, which is called Anthropotamus. It's a mashup of podcasts, anthropology, and hippopotamus. By playing with the structure of the words anthropology and podcast, I not only helped us create the name of our podcast, but I helped us to create our mascot as well, who unfortunately still doesn't have a name. We may ask for your guys' help with that in the future. For now, let's move on to the fifth function, which is phatic with a PH. The phatic function focuses on two different channels or modes of communication, which is going to be social and physical. Some of you out there might have noticed all of the alliteration that just happened, and just as another example, that is a poetic function. I neither apologize nor regret the alliteration. You're welcome. And while I do genuinely hope that you enjoy the gift of alliteration I just gave to you, I also want to point out that the phrase "you're welcome" is in fact a phatic function. Now, I do have a couple of other examples that I'm going to show you. They're both clips from the podcast, so let's listen to those and we'll talk about it afterward.
Hey everyone, welcome. So bye everybody.
Bye. Those two clips were both either a greeting or a farewell. Those are social phatic functions, but there is another type, and the other type is the physical phatic function, which is much more associated with physical objects or systems. One example given in Laura Ahern's text was the mic check, which is something I'm fairly familiar with given that I run a podcast. Checking the mics is something that's routine. You make sure that you're not blown out, that kind of stuff. Right? Check 1, 2, everybody's heard it. And here we are at the end, the sixth and final function of language. That's going to be the metalinguistic function, which is language used to talk about language. I'm constantly asking people if they understand what I mean, for example. That's partly because I sometimes lack confidence in my ability to convey my ideas, and partly because it's always important to check for understanding. Here's another example clip from the podcast.
So I was just about to talk about. I think that's about as clear an example as I could have hoped for. It's language that talks about language. So, that's all 6 functions of language. Hopefully you guys have learned something. For me, the 6 functions of language actually helped when I was studying Spanish. I'm still studying Spanish, but I understand it a little bit better now because I understand these concepts. If you guys are curious to know more about this, I encourage you to take a linguistics class. Linguistic anthropology is always a good class to take as well. Or you could read the book, Living Language, An Introduction to Linguistic Anthropology by Laura Ahern. Very good read. I learned a lot from it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all for listening. Distribution of Anthropotamus is in collaboration with the American Anthropological Association. Please continue to follow us on Instagram and Twitter @Anthropotamus for our latest episodes, show notes, and book discussion schedule.